She said at brunch, "I'm calling off the wedding. I don't love you anymore," in front of her friends. I said, "Thank you for your honesty." Then I stood up, took the ring back, and announced I'd be hosting a dodged a bullet party instead. Her friends stopped laughing when I added, "My name is Adrian. I'm 31. I'm not the dramatic type, never have been. I've always lived quietly, thought carefully, loved steadily. But nothing prepares you for the moment someone you trusted with your entire life sets fire to it with a single, rehearsed sentence. And nothing prepares you for the stillness that follows, where your heartbeat feels louder than the world around you. That stillness is where this story begins. I met her, Lena, 4 years ago at a mutual friend's rooftop gathering. It was late summer. The sky was a pale orange ribbon across the city, the kind of evening that makes even ordinary moments feel cinematic. She was standing near the fire pit, laughing at some joke I never heard, and I remember thinking she looked like the sort of person who could walk into your life and rearrange its furniture without warning. And she did. The first weeks were electric. She was charismatic in a way that felt curated but charming, like she practiced every expression in the mirror until it landed perfectly. Her confidence pulled people in, but every now and then there'd be a flicker of something else beneath it, something colder. I saw it in the way she spoke about people she called her best friends, or how she dismissed waiters, or how she'd shift blame so smoothly I wouldn't even notice until hours later. But I loved her. Or more accurately, I loved the version of her she let me see. Things got serious quickly. She moved into my apartment, then into my routines, then into the parts of my life I didn't even know were vulnerable. And over time, something in our relationship sharpened, not violently, subtly. A comment here, a guilt trip there, her saying I didn't make enough of an effort, or that I didn't appreciate her ambition. She worked in social media marketing, which meant her world revolved around appearances, impressions, performances. She was addicted to validation the way some people are addicted to oxygen. But when she said yes to my proposal last spring, crying, gasping, hugging me like I'd given her the sun, I believed it. I believed she meant it. I believed the future I saw in her eyes wasn't a reflection she was rehearsing for someone else. Then came the brunch. It was her idea. Just a laid-back Sunday morning with the girl, she said. Her friends, Maya, Jules, and Emery, were the kind of people who laughed a little too loudly, whispered a little too dramatically, and watched everything like they were collecting stories to weaponize later. I'd always felt out of place around them, like they were waiting for me to slip so they could text someone about it. We sat at a corner table of this trendy rooftop cafe she loved. Gold cutlery, overpriced pastries, sunlight that made everything look more expensive than it tasted. I didn't suspect anything. I didn't feel a tremor in the air, a warning in her eyes, a hint of the earthquake she was about to unleash. She reached for her drink, an iced lavender mimosa, as casually as if she were commenting on the weather. "Adrian," she said, almost bored, "I'm calling off the wedding. I don't love you anymore." I felt the words hit me before I processed them. The table went quiet. The sound of forks and clinking glasses from other diners disappeared. For a heartbeat, it was just her, me, and the ghost of our future dissolving between us. Her friends stared at me wide-eyed, waiting for the explosion. They were practically vibrating with anticipation. They expected devastation. They expected tears. They expected a scene they could dissect later in their group chat. Lena leaned back in her chair, crossed her legs, and gave this tiny smirk like she'd been practicing it. That was when I realized this wasn't impulsive, this wasn't emotional, this was performance, a spectacle, curated for an audience. "Better to do it now than later," she added, shrugging. "I just don't feel it anymore." Feel it. As if love were a button on her phone she simply decided to toggle off. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't waver. What I felt wasn't heartbreak, it was clarity. A clarity so sharp it sliced straight through the fog I'd been living in for years. I said, "Thank you for your honesty." Her smirk faltered. So did her friend's confidence. I stood up slowly, pulled the engagement ring from her finger. She didn't resist, just blinked, and slipped it into my pocket. The girls exchanged confused glances, as if someone had flipped their script. Then I said it. I'll be hosting a dodged a bullet party instead. Jules choked on her drink. Maya dropped her fork. Emery burst into laughter until I turned to her and added, and trust me, this is only the beginning. That was when the laughter died. Completely. Because they believed me. All of them. And they were right to. But the truth is, the trap didn't start at brunch. The trap started weeks earlier. I'd suspected something was off. Small inconsistencies, late-night messages, her sudden hyper-protectiveness over her phone, the way she'd locked the screen the second I walked into the room. And then there were the whispers from acquaintances, the hints from her cousin who always liked me more than she liked Lena. Words like, just be careful, Adrian. She gets bored easily. You deserve someone who actually sees you. But the real trigger? One night she fell asleep on the couch, her phone half under a pillow. A notification popped up. Just one line. Same time tomorrow? No name. No emoji. Just a question that detonated in my chest. I didn't wake her. I didn't snoop further. Not yet. I just watched the tiny glow of her phone fade back to black. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. I realized I'd been loving her blindly while she navigated our relationship with both eyes open, calculating every angle. I started paying attention, documenting things, watching patterns instead of explanations. I became calm in a way that wasn't natural. It was strategic, because if the truth was what I feared, I'd need more than anger. I'd need control. I didn't confront her. I didn't ask questions. I treated her exactly the same. But I also quietly reached out to someone I never thought I'd involve in my personal life. My co-worker, Finn, who happened to specialize in digital forensics. He owed me a favor. I don't want you to hack anything, I told him. Just help me understand if I'm imagining things. He didn't hack her phone. He didn't cross legal lines. But he helped me decode behavior, recognize communication patterns, understand social media shadows, things regular people don't notice. He also said something that stuck with me. If she's cheating, she'll slip. People like her always slip. And she did. The slip came 3 days before the brunch. She claimed she was meeting her friend Maya for wedding planning, but Maya accidentally posted an Instagram story from her living room. Mismatched furniture, a cat on the windowsill, definitely not the upscale cafe she claimed they were going to. And Lena wasn't there. When she came home later that night, she smelled like someone else's cologne. She kissed me, told me she missed me, talked about cake samples, and in that moment, smelling another man's skin on her, I knew the truth with a certainty so violent it nearly knocked the breath out of me. But I didn't react. I prepared. I didn't know she'd choose brunch to end everything. I didn't know she'd humiliate me publicly. But I did know she was building up to something. She'd been colder, distant, almost gleeful lately, as if she were waiting for the perfect moment to shatter everything. And I let her, because there are some battles you win by letting the other person swing first. When I walked out of that brunch, calm, ring in my pocket, her friends stunned into silence, I didn't look back. I didn't give her the satisfaction of seeing any crack in my expression. I left her sitting there in the sunlight she loved so much, surrounded by friends who suddenly didn't know how to look at her. But as I walked away, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. He won't keep quiet anymore. You need to handle this before he tells him everything. I stopped walking, because that text wasn't meant for me. It was meant for her. And that was the moment I knew. Whatever trap she thought she was setting for me, she had no idea I'd already built a bigger one around her. When that text lit up my phone, sent to me by mistake, it felt like the final puzzle piece snapping into place. I stared at the message, the street noises fading into a low hum around me, and I could almost feel the air tighten. He won't keep quiet anymore. You need to handle this before he tells him everything. A confession wrapped in panic, sent by someone who clearly wasn't me, sent to someone who clearly had something to hide. I didn't reply. Instead, I slipped my phone back into my pocket, walked to my car, and sat there for a long moment with the engine off. My heartbeat was steady, too steady, the calm you feel when the storm has finally shown its face. Her brunch performance suddenly made sense. She hadn't ended the wedding because she didn't love me. She ended it because something was collapsing behind the scenes. Something she thought she could outrun if she humiliated me first. If she broke the engagement on her terms, she believed she'd control the narrative. She had no idea I already controlled it. I drove home in silence. My apartment, our apartment, felt unfamiliar when I stepped inside. Too clean, too staged, like it belonged to a couple who no longer existed. I noticed the things she had rearranged recently. Picture frames, coffee table books, her shoes lined up by the door as if she lived in an Instagram ad. I sat on the couch replaying the brunch in my mind. Her smirk, her friends' smug faces, their laughter dying when I mentioned the dodged a bullet party. And then that text. I unlocked my phone and took a screenshot of the message. Then I forwarded it to myself on both email accounts I use. The same habit I'd started the moment I noticed her behavior shift. Paper trails matter. Backups matter. For people like Lena, evidence is the one language they can't spin. Minutes later, my phone rang. Her name flashed across the screen. Lena! I answered, letting my voice stay neutral. Yes? Adrian, what the hell was that? She demanded, her voice sharp and breathless. You embarrassed me in front of my friends. Did I? I asked. I thought you handled the embarrassing part pretty well yourself. She inhaled sharply. Don't twist things. That was supposed to be a mature conversation. Interesting location for maturity, I said. A rooftop brunch with an audience? You're being dramatic, she snapped. No, I said. I'm being accurate. There was a beat of silence. When she spoke again, her voice had softened unnaturally, the tone she used when she wanted control back. Can we talk? Privately? I think you misunderstood what happened. I almost laughed. Did I misunderstand the part where you said you didn't love me? Or the part where you ended our wedding over overpriced pastries? Another silence. Then she said quietly, I'll come home in an hour. No need, I replied. I won't be here. Her facade cracked. What do you mean? Where are you going? To host my dodged a bullet party, I said. You probably won't like the guest list. Before she could respond, I hung up. I didn't owe her emotional explanations. I owed her consequences. The first person I called was Finn. I need you to run one more analysis for me, I told him. He listened, and when I read him the mystery text, he whistled softly. That, he said, is someone panicking, and they definitely weren't talking about brunch. Can you find out who sent it? I asked. Not directly, he said, but if you forward me the message metadata, I can triangulate things. I sent him everything. 10 minutes later, he called back. Bad news, he said, or good news, depending on your appetite. The number belongs to a guy named Callan Ortiz. Do you know him? The name hit me like a cold splash of water. Callan Ortiz, a fitness trainer Lena followed on every platform. A guy she'd accidentally bumped into twice at the gym. A guy she claimed was just inspirational for his motivational posts about self-discipline and success. So that was the man she'd been sneaking around with. Finn continued, he's been in some trouble before. Domestic disputes, one assault charge, a fraud allegation involving a client's credit card. Not exactly a stable guy. Of course. Lena was drawn to chaos like it was oxygen. I thanked him, hung up, and began packing. Not frantically, methodically. I took my essentials, my documents, my laptop, a small suitcase. I left her things untouched. The less disturbance, the better. When I was almost done, another message came in, this time from Lena. We need to talk now. Something happened. Please answer. I put my phone on silent and zipped my suitcase. I drove to my friend Noah's place. He was the kind of guy who didn't ask questions until you were ready, and when you finally told him everything, he made you feel like you weren't crazy for hurting. He opened the door before I knocked. Jesus, man, you look like someone just stole your house and set it on fire. Close enough, I said. Over the next 20 minutes, I told him everything, from the late-night messages to the brunch ambush to the mystery text. Each detail twisted his expression tighter. That's sick, he said finally. She humiliated you on purpose. She wanted everyone to watch you break. But I didn't break, I said. No, he said. You did better. You broke her script. That landed exactly how I needed it to. Because that was the point. We spent the next hour planning. Not revenge, not pettiness, but protection. Evidence gathering. Legal positioning. Safety measures, since a man like Callan wasn't exactly harmless. And right when we were finishing, my phone vibrated again. This time a call from an unknown number. I answered cautiously. Hello? A man's voice responded, low and shaky. Adrian? Yes. This is, this is Callan. I sat up straighter. Noah turned toward me, alert. I want you to leave me alone, I said. Whatever you and Lena had is none of my concern anymore. It's not that, he said, voice cracking. I, I didn't know she was engaged. A lie. I could hear it trembling. She told me you broke up months ago, he continued. I swear, man, I thought she was single. I didn't respond. I wanted to hear everything. He continued, panicked. But things got out of hand. She started saying she'd expose stuff about me if I didn't keep things quiet. Expose him? Interesting. She threatened me yesterday, he said. Said if I said anything to you, she'd go to the police about something that wasn't even my fault. What wasn't your fault? I asked. Silence. Then he whispered, she stole money from me. I blinked. What? 2,000, he said. She said it was a business collaboration, but it was a lie. When I asked for it back, she threatened to accuse me of harassment. It clicked. Her panic, her performance, her rush to end the wedding before something surfaced. She was in trouble with him, too. Callan inhaled shakily. Look, man, I'm not asking for anything. I think she's dangerous. She's not who you think she is. Oh, I said softly. I know exactly who she is. Before he could say more, I heard shouting in the background. A woman's voice, hers. Why are you calling him? Are you insane? Hang up. Callan, give me the call cut. Noah stared at me. She's spiraling. She's losing control, I corrected, and people like her don't handle that well. That evening, I received 3 more messages from her. Adrian, please answer. It's not what you think. We need to talk before this gets worse. If you don't respond, you'll regret it. The shift from pleading to threatening wasn't surprising. It was predictable. Textbook manipulation. I didn't reply to any of them. Instead, I forwarded everything to a lawyer Noah knew. She reviewed the messages, the screenshots, the timeline, and said something that made my stomach twist. She's escalating. Prepare for her to blame you for anything that collapses around her. I wasn't scared. I was prepared. But the night wasn't over. Around 11 p.m., there was a sudden banging at Noah's door. Noah stepped forward. Stay behind me. He opened the door slightly, keeping the chain on. A police officer stood outside. Is Adrian here? He asked. My pulse didn't spike, but my breath sharpened. Yes, I said, stepping forward. He nodded. We received a call from a woman named Lena. She reported a domestic dispute. Domestic dispute? I repeated calmly. We haven't been in the same building all day. That's why we're here to verify, the officer said. She claimed you threatened her and took property from her. Noah scoffed. He took back his own ring. I held up my phone. Officer, would you like to see the messages she sent me today, including the threats? His expression shifted. We sat. I explained everything. Clear, concise, factual. I showed him the messages, the mistaken text, her threats, the call from Callan, my lawyer's note stating I should avoid contact for safety. It took less than 5 minutes for the officer's skepticism about me to evaporate. He exhaled. She didn't mention any of this. Of course not, I said. She mentioned the parts that suited her. He closed his notebook. I'll file this as a false report attempt. If she keeps contacting you, let us know. He left. Noah shook his head. She's imploding. You might not need to expose anything. She's doing it herself. Not yet, I said, but soon. At midnight, my phone buzzed again. One last message from her. Long, rambling, desperate. I know you talked to him. Please, Adrian, please, I need help. They're going to come after me. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. Please answer. Please. For the first time in years, I felt absolutely nothing. No anger, no sadness, no nostalgia, just clarity. I typed one sentence and sent it. This is the last time you'll ever hear from me. Then I blocked her number, blocked her friends, blocked Callan. And as I sat there, phone silent, the weight lifted so cleanly I could physically feel the air change around me. Her mask had finally cracked. Her web had collapsed. Her performance was over. She thought brunch was my humiliation. She had no idea it was her beginning of the end. Because when someone shows the world who they really are, you don't save them. You step back and let the truth finish the job.